The scene opens with a calm yet tense atmosphere high above Earth, where the silence of space contrasts sharply with the political noise unfolding on the ground. A powerful Russian launch facility comes into view just moments before ignition. Floodlights illuminate the launch pad, revealing a tall rocket carrying Iranian satellites, its metallic body glistening against the dark sky. Engineers and technicians move with rehearsed precision, aware that this launch is far more than a technical operation. It is a message. As the countdown reaches its final seconds, the camera captures close-ups of control room screens showing orbital paths, telemetry data, and satellite payload specifications, while officials observe quietly, their expressions controlled but serious. When the engines ignite, flames erupt with immense force, shaking the ground as the rocket ascends. The roar symbolizes not just technological power but geopolitical intent. As the rocket pierces the clouds, the scene transitions to global reaction shots, newsrooms lighting up, analysts watching live feeds, and intelligence agencies scrambling to assess what this launch truly means. The satellites separate smoothly in orbit, solar panels unfolding against the blackness of space, confirming mission success. This moment marks a significant leap for Iran's space and surveillance capabilities, achieved with Russian cooperation. The narrative then shifts subtly toward Washington, where preparations are underway for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's upcoming visit. In parallel with the satellite launch footage, the simulation shows U.S. and Israeli officials reviewing intelligence briefings, now complicated by this sudden display of Russia-Iran coordination. The timing feels deliberate. Analysts debate whether the satellites are purely civilian or capable of enhancing reconnaissance, missile guidance, or battlefield awareness in future conflicts. The scene emphasizes that no missiles are fired and no borders are crossed, yet the strategic impact is undeniable. Space becomes the new battleground of influence, where alliances are signaled without words. The launch hangs in the air as a quiet but powerful reminder that global power shifts often occur far from the front lines, long before any visible conflict begins. The second scene shifts the focus from the launch itself to the geopolitical ripples spreading rapidly across global power centers. As the Iranian satellite successfully stabilizes in orbit, the simulation transitions into intelligence rooms, foreign ministries, and military command centers around the world. Large digital screens display orbital paths, satellite capabilities, and estimated intelligence gathering ranges. Analysts in Washington study the data carefully, understanding that this is not merely a civilian or scientific achievement but a strategic development that alters the regional balance. The timing of the launch becomes the central issue. With Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu preparing for a critical visit to Washington, the satellite launch is interpreted as a deliberate signal rather than coincidence. The scene shows U.S. intelligence officials discussing how Russian launch assistance provides Iran with plausible deniability while still granting it advanced surveillance reach. The satellite's potential to monitor Israeli military movements, U.S. naval deployments, and regional infrastructure is highlighted through animated overlays on maps of the Middle East. Conversations reflect concern that this new capability could shorten Iran's decision-making cycle in a future conflict, allowing faster targeting and improved coordination with allied forces. The mood is cautious but tense, as officials debate whether this move crosses an unspoken red line. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to Jerusalem, where Israeli defense planners analyze the same data from a different perspective. The satellite is viewed as part of a broader pressure campaign involving Russia, Iran, and other regional actors seeking to constrain U.S. and Israeli freedom of action. The timing ahead of Netanyahu's Washington trip is interpreted as a subtle warning. Strategic realities are shifting while diplomacy continues. Advisors emphasize that space has become the new frontline, where influence is exercised quietly but decisively. The scene closes by widening the lens, showing Moscow's calculated restraint. No dramatic announcements are made, no direct threats issued. Instead, the satellite silently circles the Earth, symbolizing a new phase of competition where power is projected through timing, partnerships, and technology rather than open confrontation. The third scene shifts the focus from the launch itself to the geopolitical shockwaves spreading across the world within hours of the event. News of Russia launching Iranian satellites rapidly dominates international media, with analysts, diplomats, and intelligence agencies scrambling to interpret the deeper meaning behind the timing. Television studios light up with breaking news banners, while maps and satellite imagery fill screens, highlighting the launch site and the satellite's projected orbits. The simulation emphasizes how this was not treated as a routine space cooperation project, but as a carefully calculated strategic message. Experts explain that placing Iranian satellites into orbit significantly enhances Iran's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities, giving Tehran sharper eyes over regional rivals, especially Israel. Inside Western intelligence centers, the mood is tense and analytical. Officials debate whether these satellites are purely civilian or possess dual-use military functions. The simulation shows analysts overlaying satellite coverage areas onto maps of the Middle East, identifying how improved imagery could assist missile targeting, naval monitoring, and early warning systems. The concern grows as it becomes clear that Iran's situational awareness has just expanded dramatically, potentially reducing reaction times for its adversaries. The narrative highlights how space has become a new battlefield, where power is measured not only by missiles and troops, but by data dominance. Meanwhile, diplomatic channels heat up. US and European officials quietly reach out to Moscow, seeking explanations, while public statements remain deliberately vague. The simulation captures this contrast: strong words spoken for the cameras, cautious language used behind closed doors. At the same time, Israeli security officials hold urgent consultations, viewing the satellite launch as a force multiplier that could shift the strategic balance. The timing, so close to Netanyahu's Washington visit, is widely interpreted as intentional, meant to pressure both Israel and the United States simultaneously. The scene concludes by widening the lens, showing how one launch reverberates far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Financial markets react nervously, regional allies reassess security assumptions, and military planners begin adjusting scenarios. The message becomes clear: this was not just a satellite launch, but a signal that global rivalries are increasingly moving into space, where consequences are quieter, faster, and potentially far more dangerous than traditional displays of force. The fourth scene unfolds in the corridors of diplomacy, where the launch of Iranian satellites by Russia begins to echo far beyond the launchpad and into the halls of global power. The focus shifts to Washington, where preparations are underway for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's upcoming visit. In this simulation, intelligence briefings intensify as US officials connect the timing of the satellite launch to a broader strategic message aimed directly at both Israel and the United States. Analysts assess that this was not merely a technological cooperation event but a carefully calculated geopolitical signal, sent at a moment when tensions surrounding Iran's regional activities and Israel's security concerns are already high. The scene captures closed-door meetings where maps, satellite imagery, and intelligence reports are laid out across long tables. Advisors debate whether the launch strengthens Iran's surveillance and targeting capabilities, particularly over sensitive regions such as Israel, U.S. naval routes, and Middle Eastern military bases. There is a growing realization that enhanced satellite coverage could significantly improve Iran's situational awareness, reducing its reliance on foreign intelligence and making its military planning more autonomous. This possibility alarms policymakers, as it suggests a shift in the balance of power driven not by open confrontation, but by silent technological empowerment. Attention then turns to Russia's role. The simulation emphasizes Moscow's strategic ambiguity, publicly framing the launch as a peaceful scientific